Hello and welcome to the Boro Breakdown Podcast Opposition Preview Show. Today I'm joined by Norwich fan Matty Soakell. I was going to say Teesside-based Norwich fan, but you're not anymore. You're down in London now, mate. But we're looking ahead to Boro's second away day of the season as we take on the Canaries. Matty, welcome back to the show. Glad to have you on.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. I was about to reference Neil Warnock and say that's the difference with the London jibe, but actually I get that enough, and it would be hypocritical of me to probably go to town on it too much because I'm sick of people mentioning it. So I'll leave it there. But yeah, thanks for having me.
All good, mate. You've become quite a regular on the pod now when we play Norwich. So jumping into Saturday. Win and a defeat so far in the league for Norwich this season. Obviously, you got the win in the cup as well, which we were talking about off the air before we started. You know, you've managed to go to that one and Portsmouth at the weekend. How would you sum up your start of the season so far?
Understandable, which might not be a word that many football fans have in their catalogue of words that they would describe a footballing team as, but. When you bring in the number of new players that we've brought in, I think it is understandable that I was at that first game against Millwall and I was impressed with them, which is why I was even more impressed with the result that Boro managed to get there the other day. I didn't see that coming, but Millwall were decent, but we were a little bit off the mark, a little bit toothless really, which considering we've got who I think is the best striker in the league in Sargent, or he did manage to score off his backside. But in terms of kind of what we created and how we went about it, we were a bit edgy, and it was very evident that all of those new players hadn't quite gelled. Fast forward on to the Tuesday night against Watford and the weekend at Pompey, we looked a little bit more coherent, which was good. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how it pans out, because we should now, with those 2 wins on the bounce and scoring, a couple of goals in each, we should be in a position where we've got a little bit more confidence and a little bit more cohesion to make us really go at it, rather than, if it was, let's say we'd have been beaten by Watford and drawn against Pompey, there might have been a little bit more, maybe a little bit more sort of hesitancy, but I think we'll give it a really good go on Saturday.
I mean, you mentioned there about the amount of incomings that you've had, and that they might not potentially have gelled yet. But how would you have rated your transfer business coming into the season?
Do you know what? I think this all depends on whether we keep Sargent or not, right? If we keep Sargent, I think it's probably one of our best windows in a long, long time. Just in terms of, and this is a project that started last summer and has continued into last January or last winter, because it's not just January more, is it? And then into this season, in terms of offloading big wages. So, in previous season, it was the likes of Ashley Barnes, it was Grant Hanley. This off-season, Angus Gunn's gone, Onel Hernandez has gone, Sorensen's gone, all lads who are on 20, 25, 30k. So we've balanced out the wage bill. And then with the players that we've brought in, Topic, Vladikovic, Wright, signing him on a permanent has been a really good transfer. And then the 2 lads at the back, Harry Darling on a free, I think. Championship experience, he's looked superb straight off the bat. And then Medic from Ajax, well, he didn't really play a great deal for them in the first team, but he had a few loans. But he's eventually, after now a few games, he started to look a bit more like the real deal that we expected him to be. So yeah, overall really, really good. We've brought in a couple of younger lads as well, who maybe will be in and around the first team in 6 to 12 months. But yeah, overall, if we can keep Sargent, and I appreciate it is still an if at the time of recording and the window still been open for a couple of weeks, but if we can keep him, I think it's been one of our best in a long, long time.
I feel like there's probably quite a few clubs out there who are in a similar situation at the moment, where they say, if we can keep so-and-so, this has been a really good window for us. Just going back to last season, really. Obviously, you were the last home game for us of the season, and we had the opposition preview show then. No, we didn't. No, I was on. What was it called? Was it the Flying Canary.
But yeah, Killian's the Beyond the Back, the podcast, I think, wasn't it, where we previewed that one?
Yeah. So I remember we were talking then, and I actually got talking to a few Norwich fans on the way to the Riverside that day as well. And it was about the change in management at the time. Because obviously Jack Wilshere had just kind of came in as the interim, and I think there was a lot of confusion at that point over what was kind of going on in terms of the plan, because you were told at the start of last season this is the plan going forwards, and then there was a lot of change up at the end. Fast forward to the summer, you guys lure Liam Manning to the club away from Bristol City. How's life been under him so far, and how has he changed things?
Yeah, I think he's. I mean, just to go back to the first part of that, is it did really feel like the rug had been pulled from underneath the project, so to speak, because it was meant to be a long-term thing with Johannes Hoff-Torp. And yeah, it wasn't a great season. No one's denying that, but I still think he should have been given, up until probably October, maybe, that second international break. But he wasn't. And I was never really properly comfortable with Wilshere getting it either, because again, we'd taken a punt on Hoff-Torp, who was inexperienced in general, and inexperienced at English football. Yes, Wilshere's got the English experience in terms of playing, but again, from a managerial perspective, he's inexperienced. So Liam Manning was someone that some people were like, oh, it feels like a bit of a safe option, but actually, no, it's not. Like, he's got a lot to sort of step up and prove as well, because with my yellow and green rose tinted, my yellow and green tinted glasses, Norwich is a bigger club than Bristol City. More success over recent years in terms of promotion and where we've been as a club and the type of player that we can attract. So it's a step up for him. So there's pressure on him. He's a Norwich lad, which obviously hopefully means a bit more, and obviously the fans like that. So as an appointment overall, I think it's what we needed. He's the type of fella that doesn't seem to get too high or too low, from what I've seen of him, and I think he's started fairly well. That defeat on the opening day of Millwall wasn't ideal, but I think he can be excused given that I think in total 8 new players featured. And it's going to take time, isn't it? And anyone expects instant miracles when you bring in 11 new players in the off seasons, either deluded or stupid or a combination of the two. So I think he'll be a good appointment long term, and I just hope that come Christmas time we're in and around the top 6.
Would you say that was the aim kind of coming into the season then, with the new manager coming in, the transfers that you'd made? I'm not sure how you did in pre-season, but was that the kind of general feeling of the fan base going into the season?
Yeah, not just the fan base, but the talk and the ambition from the top as well. Because, and again, this is where the club, I think, ballsed up, to be honest with you, last year, is that Hoff-Torp was kind of very much told that it was a transition season. The fans were told it was a transition season, and that the expectation wasn't top 8, top 6 or whatever. Obviously you want to win as many games as possible and finish as high as possible, but he tried things. He played a lot of young players that we brought in over that summer, and 3-4 home games before the end of the season, a programme note was published by Zoe Webber, wife of Stuart Webber, he's no longer with the club, but she is, and sort of in the programme note she'd said about top 6 being the expectation. And then Hoff-Torp was asked the question about it by the press after the game, and he was like, what do you mean? Like, A, I haven't seen his programme notes, but B, that's not what I've been told. And it seemed to, from then, with 6 to 8 games to go, there seemed to be this hang on, what's he been told? What have we been told? This time around, it seems the message is a lot clearer, is that the expectation is challenge for the top 6, challenge for the top 3 maybe, and really have a good go. And I think the amount of money that we spent in the summer is probably evidence of that. Manning's been backed. We've still got a positive net spend, but we spent a lot of money for Norwich, nearly 30 million, which we don't do frequently. So I think the fans looking at the type of players that we've brought in and the money we've spent, I think there probably is the expectation, irrespective of what the board might say or what the talk at the club is. I think the fans look at it. Look what Liam Manning achieved last season with Bristol City, with a fairly mediocre side and a lack of resource. And I reckon the expectation is top 6 minimum. Yeah.
So looking at the squad now, and I know you mentioned, there's a bit of an if over if you keep Josh Sargent or not. Are there any areas you think still need strengthening in the last couple of weeks of the window? Do you expect any more business to be done?
I'm desperately trying not to sound like a football manager. I wouldn't rule anything out. I think it's an interesting one at left back, right? Because over the summer we brought in Jeffrey Schlupp, which I think as a free transfer is a superb signing. He's a league winner, Premier League winner, FA Cup winner, a hell of an experience, but and very versatile. So I think he will be all right. I don't know if he's first choice or if there's a couple of first choice, but we've had injury difficulty at fullback in recent years. So that might be the only area is that, and this player probably doesn't exist, a decent championship player who's 2-footed who can play on either side, but who isn't bothered about starting every week. That person doesn't exist either. But what I'm getting at is that the one area that I sort of see as potentially having a little bit of difficulty with throughout the season, just if injuries do get the better of us, is fullback, maybe left fullback, because I can't remember a season in the last 5 or 6 where we haven't gone through a 10 game spell, where first choice and then second choice left back haven't been available or right back. So yeah, we need to.
That sounds a bit familiar, though, actually.
So yeah, listen, that's probably not unique to Norwich. Every club has their injury issues throughout the season, and equally, I'd be naive to think that we were going to go a season without injuries at any position. But it just seems to have been a really badly recurring problem for us at fullback, and particularly left fullback over the last few years. So. Sorry, to answer your question, I don't think we need necessarily any additional sort of strengthening from any positional sense if Sargent stays, but I wouldn't say no to another left back coming through the door.
Fair enough. Looking ahead to Saturday, then, who are the players in the Norwich team who the team and the fans should be wary of?
Sargent, with it goes without saying, I think doesn't. Yeah. If he stays fit. Which again is another issue with Josh Sargent because he seems to be made of glass. But if he stays fit, he scores 25, 30 goals a season in the Championship. I'm quite confident about that. Him aside, I've been really impressed with Pape Diallo. Actually, the last 2 games he didn't start against Millwall. But he started against Watford and he ran them ragged, got 2 assists, and he had a good game on Saturday as well at Portsmouth. So he's a player that I don't think many opposition fans or even maybe opposition teams know a great deal about. Watford tried to sign him and we ended up getting him over the line sort of late July. So he's been decent on the left. I've really liked the start to the season that Marcelino Nunes has made in the middle, but he went off injured at half-time against Portsmouth. So it's one of them. Is he going to be available? I don't know. If it's just impact, then he might be. But he's been really, really good when he's played. Started against Watford and started against Pompey. So it's interesting actually. I saw a tweet earlier this afternoon saying, sort of Sargent aside, we don't have any like standout players. Last season it was Sainz. Season before that it was Sarah. There isn't kind of one massively, and I don't mean this the wrong way, but like one hugely egotistical or kind of standout player aside from Sargent, which I kind of like because it kind of means that we don't have any bad eggs or any kind of, do you know what I mean? Even Sargent in himself and his personality, he's not like Sainz. He's not petulant. He's not kind of that egotistical player. So, and I kind of think that puts us in a really nice position and a good balance. So yeah, I can't sort of give you anyone aside from Sargent that if I was a Boro fan I'd be worried about. But I kind of like that, to be honest.
It seems a good balance for a team, I think, when you just you have 11 consistent players really, and they might not necessarily stand out, but if you're getting 7s and 8s every week, then
that's kind of how I see it, and that's when I say about Darling coming in from Swansea, like he's a player who hopefully throughout the course of the season won't let you down too much. He's solid, he's strong, and if you can get, like you say, out of the 11 or the 16 that will feature, if 10 out of those 16 are a 7 or an 8, you throughout the course of the season, the whole cliche if it's a marathon, not a sprint, by March, April, you'll hopefully be in a decent position. And that's how I see it going, to be honest. So, yeah, I say that now. We'll get tonked on Saturday, but they'll all be marked with 3s and 4s and out of 10.
Well, I mean, is there anyone in the Boro team you think could cause you those types of problems that might result in that type of result?
Yeah, Hackney's always the one that, like, is a player that I've admired, and I know there's all sorts of rumours is the Willie won't he kind of the talk of different clubs that have been sniffing around. And I think, did he get a goal on Saturday as well at Millwall? I think he did.
He did, yeah. He got our decent finish as well.
Yeah, he's that sort of player that, granted, I don't watch enough of him to comment with authority, but and I'll probably get pelters for this, but when I've seen him play, it doesn't seem to have any huge weakness. Now, there might be some areas of his game that he might have caused, but when I've sort of seen him either on bits on TV or watched him against Norwich, he's one of them players that you really admire, that you sort of think, oh, wish we had him. Do you know what I mean? And obviously that's why he's getting attention from other clubs. So he's the one that I'm kind of concerned in terms of the impact that he can have on a game from that position as well. He's definitely the sort of player that, if he happened to pick up an injury in the warm-up, I'd be very, very relieved about.
Right. Well, touch wood, that doesn't happen. Everyone listening to this would be the opposite of that.
Sorry.
Where do you think the game will be won and lost on Saturday, looking at the two teams and how they'll match up against each other?
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite a tight game, to be honest. And I don't necessarily mean in scoreline as in a 0-0, because it could end up being a 3-3 like it was last year at Carrow Road. But I think in terms of the similarities of the teams and sort of the way that it'll go, I think it'll probably be quite even, which will be really interesting to see how it plays out. I genuinely see it being something like a daft individual mistake, because I think, obviously that clean sheet at Millwall for you at the weekend and the clean sheet at home to Swansea take the League Cup as maybe a bit of an anomaly. It shows that you're fairly solid so far this season. And I think we're just starting to move towards being a little bit more solid ourselves defensively. I know we've conceded goals in all of our games so far, but the way that we fought off the wave after wave of attack from Pompey at the weekend, and to be fair, similarly with Watford in the week before, like, we would have lost or we would have drawn at least one of those games, we would have crumbled last season or the season before. So I do think we're a bit more solid, and I do think that it could be something daft, like a keeper red card or a funny deflected goal or a mistake at the back. Everyone plays at the back, don't they? I don't want to sound like my dad, but everyone plays at the back from the back these days, and it could be something daft like that, to be honest. I really do see a very, very tight, even game. That could be 0-0 or could be 4-4.
Yeah, I mean, could be. I'd be really intrigued to see how it sets up on Saturday. Unfortunately, I can't see it because I'm away for the weekend. But both teams. I haven't seen Norwich other than the EFL highlight show this year, but I know what type of team that Liam Mann put together at Bristol. I've seen Boro this season, and shocked me a bit on Saturday. I don't think a lot of people were expecting that result against Millwall, especially after the Tuesday. But like you say, we have looked a bit more solid. Rob Edwards actually said the fact that we didn't do that against Doncaster could come down to a mentality issue. So it might just be that we're a little bit more up for it in the league. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see on. When I manage to see any clips from Saturday, how it all plays out. But it is very difficult to tell at this stage of the season, which leads me on to the final question. What's your prediction? Because, it's a bit of a shot in the dark, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's funny, and I watch not all the Prem games, obviously, but the televised Prem games at the weekend, and obviously seen a few Championship and obviously Norwich specific, all 3 Norwich specific games, and form isn't really there yet, is it? So who knows what to expect? Who would have had bloody Sunderland winning 3-0 against West Ham at the weekend? So who knows what to expect?
Not me.
I'm well, definitely not you and anyone from Teesside. I'm gonna go Desmond. I'm gonna go 2-2 just because I feel like we've got goals in us, you've got goals in you. And I know I've just said that we've started to tighten up defensively, but I still don't think we've got a clean sheet in us. Not against a team that's already scored 4 goals in the league this season. So yeah, I'm going to go 2-2. And to be honest, I'd take that. You know how much this game sort of gets to me, makes me nervous, makes me sweat. Even the fact that I don't live in the northeast anymore, it's still a big one. It's still kind of joint tied with Ipswich in terms of nervousness. So I'd be happy with a 2-2. So that's both a head decision and a heart decision. 2-2.
I think I'll join you in going for a draw, but I think I'll go 1-1. Like I say, I think it's going to be a tough game for both teams. Touch wood. I don't want to, jinx Boro there, but I think it'll, like I say, it's going to be a really interesting game, and love to see how that pans out. For anyone watching on YouTube, if you want to continue the trend where we put our predictions in the comments. If anyone gets it right, they'll get shouted out on the next show. Don't think anyone got it right for Millwall. A few people said 3-0 Millwall, so you were kind of close, but reverse that. But that was everything. Cheers for joining us tonight, Matty.
Thanks for having me.